Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I just want to take a moment to mention the podcast sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. Head over there for all your Game Boy refurbish and repair needs. Screens, shells, buttons, and all the bits and pieces. And there's a complete custom build made to order service as well. Also, plenty more retro gaming goodness like video cables, display stand and power supplies, controllers, etc. And you can add the code PixelPie at checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, take a moment to say if you enjoyed this episode and haven't already, give it a subscribe or follow and a review where you can. And maybe you want to recommend the Pixel Pie podcast to anyone you know that would enjoy it. That'd be really appreciated. So thanks for listening, and now let's get on with the show.
Hey guys, my name's Johnny, Retrogamerx1987, and you're listening to the Pixel Pie podcast.
Hello, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Scott?
Good. I kind of wanted to start with, here's Johnny. Bam, 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 bam. But people might not know what that is, nor the original reference from The Shining. So let's not.
I actually get that a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. You're Retro Gamer X, so you would get it. So, man, I tell you now, it's no offense to my global brethren, but it's refreshing to have an Aussie. Like, you're only about an hour apart in time zone, and we're both just chilling on our couches on a Saturday arvo, so there's less juggling. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you sitting down and having a chat with me. You're Retrogamerx1987, and I don't know if we were sort of talking about before, but I'm soon going to have an OG Xbox and an Xbox 360. And I was like, I started sort of stalking Instagram, and I followed you anyway. And I was like, Johnny's into Xboxy stuff, and I've been talking to him about coming on. So here you are.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on.
That's good. So, yes, Xbox is one of your things, but tell me a little bit about yourself, mate. All I know is you're in Victoria, and you've got a fairly broad interest in sort of retro gaming. I'm assuming you're born in 1987, so that gives people some idea. I know you're a dad and a husband, so maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you play, what you collect, and we'll sort of go from there.
Yeah. I'm a dad. I'm happily married. So I have two boys, both under the age of 5, so they keep me busy.
I bet.
Regarding collecting, I collect pretty much everything to do with video games. So that can become quite expensive because it's so broad. But pretty much from the Master System onwards. So I don't collect anything before that, just because I didn't grow up with it, and how much can you collect? It's never ending. So
yeah. I was sort of in a similar boat. I have a NES purely to play Tetris on, and I've always been. I don't need carts. I've got flash drives for ever drives for everything. And then some reason, one random Sunday, I picked up a original Famicom. I was like, it's kind of cool. It was a good price. And now I've got a drawer slowly filling up with Famicom carts. I've committed the drawer to it. I think I might be in trouble. Taco Games Australia. He's down in Victoria where you are in Melbourne. And he's my personal Famicom club. So I sort of send him a few bucks a month now. And when I say I've done it once, there's going to be a second one coming. And I feel that feeling of now there's carts I'm going to be seeking. And I never wanted this feeling, but I'm going to try and keep a lid on it. I'm going to try and keep it under control. And I'm just looking at one thing. Everything else is sorted. And you're one of those collectors that has to deal with 8 or 9 different consoles. So you poor bugger. It's a disease.
100% it is a disease. And if you're like me, I like to have everything boxed and complete, and that makes it even worse. So I wish I could just, if I didn't care for having a manual or a box, it'd be much easier and cheaper.
Yeah. So what's your sort of list off? Just like a short list of the consoles that you kind of collect for, and you can put them in families and groups if you want. But and if there's too many, just stop when you feel like you've said too much.
So original OG Xbox, the Xbox 360, I feel I'm pretty content with what I have there. Just because during that period, that was my main console, and I brought a lot of games at that time.
Right.
At that stage of my life, I was, flat out on the Xbox Live and online. So, and then, obviously all the latest stuff for the Xbox I still purchase. PS1 and PS2, heavily into those. PS3 and PS4, I buy if I come across it, but I'm not heavily into them. And then, N64 for Nintendo is the main one I like
Right.
collecting for, but I've just
That's
sort
probably
of
the expensive one, right?
put a hold on that one at the moment. Yeah, that's why I've just sort of slowed down on it, just because it's just so expensive. I can't really justify some of the prices. I'm happy with what I have, but obviously, there's still some stuff I want to add in.
Yeah, and you've got on your wall behind you a poster, which is very Nintendo and Game Boy driven. So there's got to be a good streak of sort of Game Boy in your life, right?
Yep, grew up with the Game Boy, one of my first systems. So I've got a few games there. I actually forgot to mention my Sega stuff. So Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast, very, very into them.
Yeah.
At one point, probably for mid 2014, just a little bit before that, I had a very good collection of the limited edition consoles, but I've moved on most of them since then. But pretty much all the rare consoles, I had all of them as well.
Yeah, there's an ODE, an optical drive emulator board that goes into, it's called the Mode, and it goes into the Dreamcast or the Saturn, the same board. And I'm like, because everything I've got, like the GameCube, PS1, well, those two have got ODEs, and it's like, EverDrives for everything else. PS2 is just on a drive. But I'm like, I've always got my eye out for a Dreamcast, probably Dreamcast over Saturn. Which one did you lean towards these days? And for what reason? If I could buy a Dreamcast or a Saturn, they're both in front of me, $100, pick one. I can only have one. Which way what would be your advice to me?
Definitely Dreamcast.
Considering I'm going to ODE it too, so everything's free after that,
Yep. For me, I just find a lot of the arcade ports are more spot on the Dreamcast. So, obviously with the Saturn, the Daytona that they released, it's not great, but later on when they did Sega Rally, that was pretty good. Actually, it was pretty close. But I just find a lot of the titles, the arcade titles on the Dreamcast are pretty spot on.
Yeah. I see there's a post on your Instagram of you in a very brazen Daytona, like I don't know if it's a hoodie but like a jumper with the whole yellow and blue, and like that's fantastic. Is that OG or is that something you like because everything's redone these days?
No, it's from a website called Uncle Rico, and they just do a lot of tops and things like that. And because I've got the Daytona arcade machine, and they had that jumper on sale, so I had to get it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I have seen you've got a couple of arcade machines. So what's the story behind those? Did you get them in pretty good nick and paid a lot of money, or have you had to do them up, or how did that work? How did that come about?
A bit of both, actually. So it started off just I was only going to buy one, and that's how it always, that's how these things always begin.
You've got more than one.
Yeah, I got 4 arcade machines at the moment. Are you
serious? You've got 4 of them all linked up?
No. So they're all different. Like I've got Daytona, I've got a Tekken 3, Mortal Kombat 2, and a Point Blank.
I thought you meant you had 4 Daytonas all linked up. I was like, what the hell?
Now that would be epic though. So I brought the Tekken 3.
Right.
And it wasn't working. So the screen picture was pretty bad. I had no idea what I was doing or if I'd be able to fix it, but it was $400.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine come with me with the ute, and I purchased it.
Yep.
Done some research, and I ended up buying a new screen for $100 off Facebook Marketplace, and then I got there's a chassis, which is pretty much the board that goes into the back of the screen and connects to the game board. That needed to be replaced, and that was $150. So basically, for about $600, I had a working Tekken 3 machine.
Oh, that's pretty rad. You must have some pretty good. Do you have like mates that come over and big Tekken sessions and stuff? Like, because that's a pretty, like, if you're a kid and your mate had a Tekken 3 machine, and let's face it, we're all still kind of kids now. We can just afford $600 to put into a Tekken machine.
So we do have a fair few barbecues and things like that at our place, and whenever we do, all the machines get turned on. The kids love it, and even the adults love it. So
Daytona's it's super duper iconic. Like, especially, I don't know what it's like overseas, but for you and I in Australia, like, I can remember, I don't know when you'd know the stats when it came out, but I can remember even when I'm like 49 this year, and I must have been 25, 26, driving. I kind of grew up in Tassie, driving randomly, pulled up at a pub in like Sale down in Victoria. You'd be aware of it. And there was like, I remember like a dude knocked his beer over on the Daytona machine, but like, it's just everywhere. Every pub had like a pool table, some darts, and a couple of Daytona machines. Like, and even now here in Brizzy at Netherworld, it just gets a flogging everywhere you ever went. If there wasn't a couple of Daytona machines, it's like, you kind of missed it. It's like that. If it wasn't Outrun, it had to be Daytona. And most people probably prefer Daytona because my wife will crush me by just enough every time. It's always fun. Always fun.
Yeah. So that's one of the main machines that I used to play. So I grew up going to the arcades, and between Daytona and Sega Rally, and then later on Scud Race. But the Daytona was just iconic for me. I spent so much money on it as a kid, and when I was even as a kid, growing up, I was always like, I want to have one of these, and I've been fortunate enough to actually have two in my lifetime. I had some in 2014. I actually had one, a different version. It was an Aussie version. And this is the Japanese version. So this is probably the best version you could get. There's 3 different versions.
Right.
So it's the better one, sort of bigger screens and looks better. I never get sick of it. It's just pretty much my favorite game of all time. I never get sick of it. I could play it every day. And
are you pretty good?
My son actually is addicted. I like to think I'm okay. Yeah.
Well,
so
I mean,
I've looked up my time sort of.
Yeah, you'd looked around and you'd know what people are doing, and you kind of the occasional like in Victoria, you've got Bartronica, which is like a kind of like, I guess, a retro gaming bar, but it's a bit different to that. It's these sort of like barcades, in the US and Europe. But I think like here we've got Netherworld, and it doesn't feel like a barcade. It just feels more like sounds silly, more like a bar with a retro gaming kind of vibe, which is kind of a barcade. But do they have it at Bartronica, Daytona?
Yeah, they do. Yep.
And what are your times like on the Bartronica whiteboard, chalkboard do they keep a record of stuff there?
They do, but it's been so long because we've been in and out of lockdown. I can't remember the last time I went there or what the times were. So
you remember if you were number one, right?
I remember I sort of have exactly. No, I do see like the times on the machines that they have, sort of whether or not they've been reset or not. But my times are decent. Yeah.
It'd want to be. It's like if you're in tennis court, you'd want to be able to play a bit of tennis, wouldn't you? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what's the if it does get a bit of a workout, what's the kind of the maintenance like? And I guess you're sort of seeking out parts and things for a Daytona because it's fairly specific. It's not just like, oh, I need this stick and these buttons and I can kind of retro and stuff. How do you go keeping that thing alive? Considering it gets, your son's addicted to it and it gets barbecue action and stuff.
It's not too bad, but I have had some issues with it. It's almost 30 years old, so
Yeah.
electronics weren't as great as they are now 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So parts are becoming very difficult to get for a machine like that. They can get expensive. So the machine was, before I got it, it was sort of semi-rebuilt, and it's in pretty good condition. So I've had the chassis service. So there's a guy up in WA called Jomac, and he's one of the experts pretty much on all arcade stuff. He repairs all the boards pretty much for time zone and things like that.
Yeah, right.
And he's been great helping me find any issues that I've had in the past. So
Yep.
I've sent them off to him to get serviced.
Yeah.
And I've just started accumulating some parts, just if I come across things cheap. Like I got 2 brand new gearboxes from America for $30 each.
Nice.
Just new old stock, and I just had to take it.
Yeah.
And then the only problem is if you're not an expert on it and you're trying to fault find an issue, can be a little bit daunting and difficult. I've spent a lot of time researching online, and through help from Jomac. His name's Joey, actually, but that's a business name, Jomac. He helped me through email a lot, to fault find issues. And I had like a board, which it's very hard to get replacements for, but I narrowed it down to that board. I sent it to him, and he actually repaired it for me for free. It was just like a broken solder track, and
Nice.
I just paid the postage to send it to him and back. So it's people like him who've sort of helped me keep it alive. The other machines, both of them have really been rebuilt, I guess, before I got them.
Mm-hmm.
They're in good nick. Only the Mortal Kombat 2, the screen's probably on its way out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned over the journey that I know how to replace them myself now. So it's a good skill to have, I guess. If you want to have the machines and you don't know how to fix them, it can get very expensive to have someone come out to,
for sure,
fix them for you.
For sure. Yeah. Having 3 or 4 arcade machines is such a big thing compared to a bunch of consoles and games and, like Game Boys and stuff. I can't possibly imagine. Like there's some people, that's all they can really sort of fit into their world is just, I've got a Tekken and a Daytona. There's a guy, I can't remember. They used to have a podcast. Was it Arcade Perfect, Outrun 86? I think he's down in Melbourne there somewhere. Can't remember his name. But
I'm not sure if I follow him. So
he's got a couple of outruns. I think he's got at least 2 outruns, and he's just recently rebuilt a Super Hang-On. And it's like, look, that stuff looks so good because it's not until you see it and you go, I remember seeing that, or I remember being terrible at that game. That's so good. Yeah. So I guess that's maybe I'm really interested in more of your regular collection, which then again is not regular because you have so much of everything. What would be kind of of the different consoles and things? What would be your probably most? I think I might already know the answer. Your most complete and probably what you're mostly satisfied with collection on what particular console? It's going to be 360, right? It seems like that's where you gave it most of the love early on.
Yeah, definitely 360. I'd say is the most complete. I'm most satisfied with that collection.
When did 360 come out?
There was a lot of hype for me when that console came out, and I think it was around 2006 from memory. Yeah,
right. Okay.
In Australia, anyway. I think it could have been a little bit earlier in the US. But it was like sort of next gen. The graphics was a big leap, and I was really close friends with the employees at my local EB Games. So I spent a lot of time after hours, after the store was closed. They had a console there playing it. So I got the console at launch midnight, and just playing online and the achievements. I remember that was just something so new at the time. So that sort of switched me over from mainly being, PS2, I guess, to Xbox. And since then I've stuck with the Xbox just because I've, got all the achievements on my gamer tag, and I had so many games at that point for the 360. So that'd be the one I think I'd be most satisfied with. I hardly really look for any games for that when I'm out hunting.
So the OG Xbox, was that, did you own that prior, or did you kind of after you got the 360? Because you said you sort of switched from PS2 to 360, and then you're like, oh, I'll go see what the OG was about, and you kind of like that became your like retro Microsoft Xbox thing.
No, so pretty much since the PS1, pretty much every console I've purchased at launch.
Wow.
Every single one, whether it be Nintendo, Microsoft, PlayStation.
Right.
But so I got the OG Xbox at launch. I got it at launch, but it was just sort of, I think, between the PS2 and the OG Xbox, I'd probably spent more time and had more games for the PS2.
Yeah.
And then, once the Xbox 360 came out, it was sort of a game changer, with the so much online. It was just, everything was integrated into it, and the achievements and the gamer tag. And so I had the PS3, I got the PS3, but I really, PS3 and PS4 and now PS5, I've just used them for the exclusives.
Right.
And Xbox is my main console, so any third-party game, I'll just get that on Xbox.
Right. And you've got the latest Xbox, whatever they call that. I can't keep up.
Yeah. Series X.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
It's insane. It's interesting, the last sort of with the X and the PS5 and the lack of being able to get hold of them and stuff. It just seems like such a load of baloney. I'm sure they just kind of like leaked them out and went, let's do a bit of market research. How much are people willing to pay for these things? Oh, okay. Well, when the X2 comes out, guess how much we're going to be charging? Kind of crap. It's just bullshit. I don't buy it at all. I don't.
It's pretty bad. Like, I get a lot of people messaging me, and they're sort of really flat because I've missed out on getting them. So I try and do my best. If I'm online and I see them pop up, I always try and post it on my stories. And I've private messaged a few people that I knew that were looking for them, and I've helped a few people, so that makes me feel good. Get them and not have to pay
for sure.
scalping prices for them.
So it's legit, right? So for someone like myself who's not really chasing one, but I only hear and see what I hear and see. But you're saying that, like, legit, there are people who have wanted a PS5 or a Series X, and for whatever reason, just haven't been able to just find one to buy yet.
Yeah, so everyone, even on Facebook, a couple of the gaming groups that I'm in, people are just really getting fed up because they can't get them. And I have a little bit of a luxury where I am able to be online, so during the day. So I do see them come up, and I try and help people out, message them and get them. But you just supposedly, there's some chip shortages, and they reckon that that's going to go on pretty much for a majority of this year. But just when you see people buying them or selling them on Facebook Marketplace, and they've got 5 consoles there, and they're selling them for $1,000 each to make money, and people get desperate. They're paying it. They want to get the kids a Christmas present or something like that. It's
I wonder
if it's a situation.
I wonder if it's ever awkward. I mean, look, to me, $1,000 doesn't get you a lot. I mean, some people go through a phone. They might do a new iPhone every 2 years, and you're pushing $1,200-$1,300 for phones now. So, and a phone is fairly handy, right? You can solve most of your life problems through a phone these days. Whether it be bills, communication. If you can't take a poop, your phone's there for you. It does everything. A console isn't as flexible, but it's a pretty impressive, piece of kit. So $1,000 doesn't really seem like much. And I wonder, if I'm a dude who wants to buy the Xbox for my kids, and this guy's got 5. And I know full well I should be able to get one for whatever $600-700. This dude's going to ask me $1,000. Like, I wonder if there's any like, come on, mate, you've been a bit of an asswipe. Come on, this dude's like, good, you want the Xbox or not? Kind of thing, it must have happened.
Surely it has happened. Yeah, I seen an ad for a guy selling one on Facebook Marketplace, and he had a full Q&A on there saying, don't ask me for it to be cheaper, and this is why I'm selling them at this cost and things like that. But I think for a lot of people, it's just the principle. They don't appreciate that you can't get them, and some person has 5 of them, selling them just to make money. But that's with everything now. It's not only video games. It happens with shoes and computer graphics cards, and it's just it's not great, but it's just the way of the world, I think.
Yeah, I think was it like the Steam Deck? You had to put like $40 on or something like that. So at least there was if a dude wants to buy 100, he's got to make an initial outlay. So I guess that was a really simple deterrent. Some people may still put.
I'm pretty sure at EB Games, if you pre-order the PS5 or the Series X, you have to put $200 down. So, and I know with JB, you had to pay him up front.
Right, but that's still mums and dads, right? I mean, the dudes that are and females, anybody can scalp, but the people that are scalping are probably getting these from a online source and just buying 10 at a time. Like, I don't suspect they're getting. I would have thought that maybe JB being and NEB Games being wanting to be respected by the gaming community would have said, look, we're not selling 10 at a time. It's just, we know why, and we're not supporting it. I would hope. I have no idea, and I would be not surprised if they're fine with it. But I suggest that some dude behind a counter's like, man, I'm feeling really shitty about selling you these 10 because I know you're about to make a bunch of people's lives at least $400 poorer than they deserve. You piece of crap kind of guy.
Yeah, they do have limit one per person.
Yeah,
so that's good.
But look, at the end of it, like you said, it happens with everything. I mean, if there's a person that's not really working, and this is how they're making their money, everybody needs a hustle. It doesn't mean they're an evil person. You just feel for the people that are kind of like, oh, man, I just want to give my kids an Xbox, or I just want an Xbox. I don't want to pay almost twice the price. So there's two sides to it. I don't want to sound like a scalper basher, but it is kind of rude. Yeah. So the OG, so my mother-in-law or my parents-in-law they're helping someone get rid of some stuff, and she sends me some photos of like, do you like Xbox? I'm like, I guess I do. Like, I'd seen them a few years ago. People had like sort of jailbroken them, put emulators and stuff on them, and I'd seen someone playing one night. I kind of grew up more around PlayStation-y stuff, but even then I was a bit older by the time the Xbox came out. I was doing other things. And she's like, oh, blah, 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 send me some photos. I'm like, look, I don't know. I flicked through Facebook, and she's like, I think all the cables are here. She doesn't really know what it is, but she's going to kind of get rid of it. And there's a few games, and I was like, okay, whole bunch of girls. I'm like, look, I don't know. They're kind of old. It might be janky. I'm happy to give her, say, $100. Let's just take it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, she's in a bit of a spot. It's fine. Some petrol money for her. Yep, no worries. So then, like 2 days later, she messages me again and says, oh, so all these controls of games are actually for this other Xbox, blah, 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 blah. So there's a 360 as well. So I basically got but she said, I think the 360 is missing a video cable or something. I'm like, probably HDMI. I can resolve that. So anyway, I'm getting these 2 Xboxes with a bunch of controllers and a bunch of games and stuff for $100. I'm like, I got to win out of this one way or the other. So then I started looking at what am I going to do with this OG Xbox kind of thing. So the first thing I looked at was, I was like, because I've already got a PS3 kind of like plumbed into my monitor, which has 2 HDMIs because the TV gets used for, other family stuff. Like I've already got that there. So I'll get a HDMI switcher. And I take the audio out of the PS3 just straight into a little old stereo, which has got a sub and stuff. And then I'm like, all right, and I'll get this little like thing that passes through HDMI, but it splits the audio off. So I can have multiple consoles going video this way, audio that way. And I look at the OG Xbox cable. I'm like, it's RCA. It's not even HDMI. 480p. And I was like, was it that long ago? I was astounded because I've watched all these videos on the Rocky 5 jailbreak and hot swapping bigger drives and Splinter Cell and saves and stuff. And I've got all this bits and pieces coming to do it. But yeah, I was astounded when I found out that the Xbox OG was 480p RCA because I just thought it was going to be HDMI. I don't know. I was confused.
Yep, it is retro, or it's retro to me anyway. 2001.
Got to be retro.
So yeah, it is a long time ago.
So yeah, I guess I was just a bit kind of like, I don't know why I was so astounded why the Xbox was on RCA left, right, and a video cable. Because I kind of like, I looked at the Wii that we have and things like that. And I was like, I guess that was later in, because the Wii I've got runs on component. And I always thought that, and I think there was always questions like, why wasn't the Wii on HDMI, but the Wii U was? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can, is that kind of what was going on? Like the PS1 was RCA, the PS2 was RCA. So it does fit, but I was confused. I'm sorry, world.
I think just at that time, it wasn't really, HDMI wasn't really standard until PS3 and Xbox 360. The Wii system was sort of, I don't think it was really powerful enough, and sort of cost sort of kept those features. It wasn't, it's not really, it was sort of focused on, gimmicks, I guess.
Yeah, I have a Wii U and I think it's freaking gorgeous. It's currently hooked up to the main TV for Mario Kart, but we don't seem to do that anymore. So part of what I am going to probably do is I'll take the Xbox OG output and put it through an RCA to HDMI converter. I've done that a few times for the projector. I think that'll be okay. So I'll put like the PS3, the OG, the 360, and I'll bring the Wii U in here and put them all through this little HDMI switcher, and that'll be good because yeah, the Wii U is. I was just flicking through your stuff before when we were talking. I was like, I don't see any Wii U in your stuff, but it may just be I haven't flicked far enough.
No, I do have. I'll be honest. I do have.
Of course, you do.
Some Wii U and Wii stuff, but they're probably my least favorite Nintendo consoles, if I'm honest.
I did see you've got a couple of the like sort of special edition Wii controllers, like Mario and Luigi, in box. They're pretty rad. That's rad.
Yep. Yeah. No, I've got. I never take out my Wii or Wii U.
I've just not in public anyway. Sorry, dad joke.
My wife wouldn't be happy with that.
No, she would not.
But I had a spare. Before I met my wife, she actually had a Wii console, and I took it out because I was going to clean it up and just sell it because I got no use for it. But I went to test it before I listed it, and my son seen me load it up and put Mario Kart on there, and he just asked me to play it all the time now. So I've just left it in there, and he'll constantly play Mario Kart. The Wiimote is something new to him. So
yeah, it's cool. It's yeah, my daughter and I went through that. She's 11, nearly 11 now, but in those few years, I think around 8 or 9-ish, because of the elastic banding, if her and I played together, I would be able to be way out in front, and she can't be with that 5th and 6th. And then if she played without me, then she would do better. But I always said to her, if you ever beat me at Mario Kart on the Wii, I'll give you $50. And it happened. She beat me, and she's pretty good, and I'm fine with that. I think that's fine. Our whole life revolves around financial incentives, so it's okay to tell your child this is what you can have. You got so much cool stuff. I just like while we're talking, flicking through your Insta, like let's see down here this like Sonic PC collection thing, which looks like a mouse pad and a mouse or something, and just so much random stuff. You're like, it never astounds me the level of merchandise that the gaming industry has just pumped out, and you have so much of it, dude. Sonic Anniversary PC pack, PC collection game, mouse pad, and mouse. What the?
That was I picked that up. I think they were just having them on clearance at Big W, and from memory, it was about $20. And I couldn't say no to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a problem I have.
No,
And I haven't even opened it. It's just been
yeah.
sitting in the cupboard, but
It's weird things you pick up. So you see this here, no one else can see it, but this is this massive, like 8-inch, obesely gymmed up, huge chest, almost like chibi type black Power Ranger in a box. And I was going home from work a day past an IGA, which is one of our smaller sort of chains. And it was sitting in a trolley and I was grabbing bread and stuff. And I looked, I was like, $6. I mean, I don't know.
That's awesome.
What am I going to do with $6? I'm going to say I'll grab it and I'll just leave it like that. And maybe one day my daughter will be able to buy a car. What that's worth, I don't know. Stupid, but it's like I have no interest in Power Rangers. I'm like $6. It's still in the box. It seems okay. You know, it's hard when you just see things you like, just little things. I have a similar problem with you. I just don't have the commitment. So where do you must go through phases, right, in order to have all these different collections kind of evolving and stuff. Do you get time to play much?
So it is, I do find it difficult to get time.
I mean, real life, a dad of 2 kids and stuff, that's the first barrier.
Yeah, exactly. So I get up for work at 4:30 in the morning, and by the time I put my kids to bed at night, I'm going through a spell at the moment where I haven't really played for 2 weeks. I just have no energy to do it. But I have this unrealistic thought in my mind where I collect these games, and one day when I retire, I'll be able to play them all and finish them all. And I know that's never going to happen, but it's nice to think like that. But
you have to justify the purchase at the time, don't you? And that's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I get about an hour or 2 a night, you know, when I'm sort of into it. And I have been playing Halo a lot.
Is your wife
the oldest? No, not really. So she loves Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh, beautiful.
She loves that, and she'll jump on the Daytona and play with us when it's on. But she's not really into gaming, but she's very supportive. She's an enabler. She allows me to do all this and supports me. So
I have one of those. It's fantastic.
It is good. So but yeah, on the weekends and an hour or 2 at night is when I get to play. But I try to make sure the lawns are mowed and I spend time with my wife and kids, and then gaming comes last.
Must be a little bit tricky having the 2 boys, because they're at the age where everything's cool and they want to touch everything, and you want to like this room here that I'm in, it's like if I move the camera in this, it's pretty tight. Like it's just enough room for you and I probably sit side by side looking at my 29-inch Trinitron, and we'd be bumping elbows. So there's enough room for me to sit in this chair and spin it, turn around. There's another room and the narrow entry and stuff. And my daughter comes in here who's 11, who I love dearly, but I'm like, just can you not move fast? Can you just keep your arms beside you and just chill, please? Because you could easily flick something that's irreplaceable to me. I love you, and maybe just leave. It would be easier. But so how do you kind of deal? Do you have to have at this phase in your life as a dad, as a collector, a bunch of stuff just away? And when in 5 or 6 years, when the boys have got maybe a bit more respect, you can pull a bunch out, and you can everything will come bloom again.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty lucky. So both of my boys, they do come into my games room, but I think they sort of know how pedantic I am. The younger one, he's turning 3,
right.
But my elder boy, he's 5.5, and he's pretty good. But they'll come in here and they'll mainly just sit on the couch. Alex, who's my older son, he plays a lot of games with me, so we'll sit down and play together. And Chris, who's my younger boy, he just gets an old third-party controller and he thinks he's playing with us. So they're pretty good, and we'll sort of But some of the more expensive stuff or boxes and things like that, they're sort of away in the cupboard. I've got cupboards full of all my stuff everywhere.
I asked this of lots of people because I've actually started pondering the concept myself. Do you have any specific insurance for your collection?
No. So the arcade machines I have added on, but with the other stuff, and that's one of the reasons why all my limited edition Dreamcasts I ended up selling off, because that I collected them, and then I was at a point in my life where I'd split up with a partner of mine, and I'd brought a townhouse, and I was in that townhouse on my own, and I didn't set anything up, so I just had a whole spare room full of video games.
Yeah.
And those consoles were in there, and some of them were worth, at that time, they're worth more now, $3,000 each.
Wow.
And I was just like, if I'm not home and, you know, the house catches on fire or something like that, like that, they'll never be replaced. So you might get from insurance, you might get, a JB Hi-Fi voucher to the value of that item, but I'm never going to be able to go and buy one again.
No, marketplace, whatever value sort of crap,
Yeah, so that's why I got rid of those consoles. But
good
with
on
this
you,
sort of
because it's like, it's such a selfless act. There's a lot of people were like, no, I've got them, I'm keeping them. To release them back into the wild, you're one of those rare gamers that, like, if I don't really need it, if someone else wants it, I'm happy to move it on. It's a different breed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have them. Sometimes, some of them now, they're just going for some insane pricing. Like I had a Sonic Adventure. It was a 10th anniversary, and it was actually signed by Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic.
I'm shaking my head with a big grin right now. No one else can see that.
It's just some of those things. There was only like 40 of them in the world.
Oh my Lord, that's insane.
Yeah, so I think from memory that was around 3,000, and that was 2014, or it was probably even more than 3,000. And now you won't even see one come up for sale, and if you do, people are probably going to be asking 10 grand or something, something
Lordy.
crazy. Yeah,
that's insane.
So,
yeah, I mean, the Dreamcast and the Saturn, they're just on that edge of, if my retro gaming is kind of like a company that can explore space, I just don't quite have the boosters to get out to the Saturn and the Dreamcast right now. And if I get there, I'm probably not going to come back. It's going to be a one-way trip, and I'll have a Dreamcast and there'll be nothing I can do with it. I can remember there's a retro gaming store here in Brisbane, a pretty typical one. It's like, I remember sitting there just looking for Game Boy stuff a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago now. And a guy just walked in, he was talking to the guy and blah, 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 blah. And over about 15 minutes, I watched him the owner start to run around, and he basically bought the guy's Saturn and like 35 games. And I reckon the shop owner's like, all right, everybody out, I'm shutting, I'm going home now. Kind of thing, I'm done for the day. It must have been a good $1,000 right there and then, like, insane,
Yeah, it's getting, like, that's why with the 64 stuff, I've just slowed down at the moment, and I don't think, the prices have gone up. I don't think they can sustain this level. Maybe they will. I don't think so, but yeah, it's just, I can't justify, that type of money.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, here in Brizzy in Queensland, like, you look on, say, Facebook Marketplace for Game Boys, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it be a DMG or a Pocket or an SP or a Color, it can be in good condition, or it can look like it's been sitting in the bottom of someone's rubbish bin all its life with corroded batteries. And people will say, retro Game Boy, excellent condition, $150. And you're like, God, I can't wait for that to be over because it's unrealistic. It's just unrealistic, unfortunately. And most of these people aren't people that know anything about them, but they've seen one go for 150, and it's this real false market. So hopefully people aren't getting sick of them and just binning them. They're kind of like, oh, well, it's not going to sell now, I'll put it back in the cupboard, and in a year or two, if things settle down, they'll come back out for $80, $90 is a bit more realistic when you want something to reshell and stuff, so I can't imagine what the actual market is like for I don't quite understand sealed items. I've dabbled with Pokemon. I bought a sealed, which one did we get? The Champions Path Elite Trainer box gun. I'm just going to buy it and I'll put it there. A buddy of mine bought one and made like $3,000 off cards. I was like, oh, well, you can, obviously. But I'm like, who in their right mind's going to buy this sealed box of Pokemon cards off me for $300 one day when that's what it's worth? Like, I wouldn't. Could be a bag of sugar for all you know, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the Pokemon cards is crazy. I'm in a few groups on Facebook, and just when I see people selling those boxes, and
Yeah.
it's $20,000 for a box of original cards from late 90s. It's just crazy.
It is.
It's insane, but
it's the most expensive scratchy you've ever bought. Well, scratchy, for those that know me, like those little lottery cards, you scratch the numbers and stuff. Like, you really don't know what you're getting. It's unreal.
No.
And it's got to be graded to be of a real value. And so you still, like, there's levels of success there. Do you have any graded games or books or any of that sort of stuff that you've got? Because I start to see games get graded now, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit odd. Like, there's a lot to look at. It's not
no graded games. I've got a couple of sealed games that I just sort of didn't go out of my way to get them, but I just picked up like a big Xbox lot not that long ago, and it just had like a sealed Project Gotham Racing in there. I've got a Shenmue 2 for OG Xbox.
Yep.
I had an open copy, and then when there was like a clearance sale, that game was there, and it's one of my favorite games, so I brought it. It was like $20.
Right.
I got a couple, but nothing.
I just pick up random stuff. Like a few weeks ago, my daughter and I picked up Link's crossbow training on the Wii for like $2. It was on Gumtree. It was around the corner. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I hear it's a terrible game, but one day someone's going to be, man, I'll give you $60 for that. It's like, it's the missing link in my Zelda Wii collection. And be like, sure, okay, that's fine, So that's very opportunistic, and a very minimum budget is my game pickup, because I don't need them. Everything's on a hard drive or a EverDrive or a something, So, yeah. I mean, while we're talking, I'm looking at this Saturn here. It's one of the cream ones that you've got, and it's a pretty gorgeous looking thing. Hey, like the controller and everything. It's a gorgeous looking thing.
That one is one of the white ones, but it probably looks cream because either there's a filter on it or it's a little bit yellow.
Right.
That's a Japanese. Those white ones were only released in Japan, and a lot of the stuff from Japan. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of the stuff is yellowed over there because they smoke a lot inside.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so you'll see like a lot of their white systems, from that era, very yellowed. Yeah, I had that. I've still got that white one. And previously I had the Christmas Nights pack, which that one was like brand new, but I'd moved that on a while ago. So but they are nice.
Most of these cool sort of specials, have you brought them over yourself, purchased them from someone over, or have you kind of purchased them here at the right time?
It was a mix. A lot of it, I was on these forums, probably over 10 years ago now.
They don't even, sort of thing.
Yeah, and a lot of them, I just purchased from overseas or websites. Now it's sort of hard to do that sort of stuff now, and some of them are on eBay, but the guy was close to me, and I'd go and pick it up in person. But it's a mixture of everything.
I got a buddy at work, and he's got like an N64, a yellow like Pokemon Center, Pokemon Game Boy Color. He's got a loose copy of Conker's Bad Hair Day for N64, for those that don't know what it's for. And I keep hitting him up and just, stuff he had when he was a kid, and he showed me photos. Everything's a great nick. I'm like, what do you want for it? He's like, nah, I'm not selling it. I know it's worth something. I'm like, it's just sitting in a box. At least I'll put it on a shelf, kind of thing, But this is happening everywhere. Like, we just had the big floods up here, and you went through Sydney. I don't know what happened in Melbourne, but so many houses just got, and I know this sounds very selfish because lots of people have lost a lot of very valuable stuff, but that's a piece of time when so much retro gaming stuff that was sitting in boxes in basements is probably now in landfill. And you're like, dude, just let me buy it off you before your house floods or something terrible, you know? Yeah. Have you ever had any kind of like really good pickups where you kind of at a garage sale and someone's like $20 for the box, man, and you're like knowing in your heart, oh my God, trying to contain yourself?
So lately I've been trying to buy things from op shops and garage sales and things like that. I guess I'm at the point where I'm trying to sustain, buy it sustainably, this stuff, so if I pick stuff up, for cheap, but I know that I don't need it, on sell it, so then I can then buy something that I want. And
sure, supply your own habit with the profit from the sale.
Yeah. So shout out to two happy gamers, Beck and Craig. They're both lovely people, but Craig gave me a lot of great advice. But I had a really good deal a couple of weeks ago. It was on Facebook Marketplace, and it was an OG Xbox, but it was the Halo. It was a Halo pack, and I promised myself I'd never just buy different box variants, but I couldn't pass this one up. So it was a Halo variant, the combat pack. It had 70 games, a couple of controllers and things like that. And I only wanted it for the console. So I went there, I brought it. It was $500. I kept the console, and I took out, I reckon, about 10 games. And I got rid of the rest of the games, traded in the rest of the games, and I got most of my money back.
Oh,
like
nice.
I almost got all of that. So while I was there, the guy actually gave me this old Sega. It was so old, it was before my time. It was a
like the Mark II or something.
No, it was SG 3000. I think it was.
Holy shizzle!
Yeah, it was so old, and 4 games. And so by the time I sold that Sega, I had no interest in it. I sold that Sega. He just said, I know that you collect them. We sort of got to talking a little bit.
Yeah.
So by the time I sold that Sega and I sold the games that I didn't want, I got the console for free.
Yeah.
And then the guy messaged me the next day, and he said, oh, by the way, I found all these controllers for the Xbox. You can have them for free. One of them was it was the OG, the Duke controller. It was open, but it still had all the original packaging.
Wow.
So I got, 4 controllers the next day for free. And that was like, one of the better bargains I've had lately. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, Vinny's and Salvation Army and Vinny's, which are here in Australia, the op shops, or like, I think they call them thrift shops overseas here and there. But I find Salvo's isn't too bad, but Vinny's is like, they're onto it. Like some Vinny's, I've seen one of those green Xboxes a few months ago, like in the cabinet, and I had like $280 on it. And I'm like, that's not an op shop price. That's put it on Facebook. Like that's bonkers. But even I see a lot of their stuff can be a little bit like above op shop market price. The 360 that I've seen a few times come up recently, which I nearly bought one, but it looks scuffed. Another one was in really great condition, but didn't have the controller. It's the one where the 360 is like R2D2 and the controller is the C3PO gold.
Yep.
I saw one
Star Wars one. Yep.
I saw one for like $200 a little while ago, and it had the controller, but the whole thing just looked beat. I was like, if I want to get one, I would rather spend that sort of 300 and have a really pristine one, like because that I'm into droids and Star Warsy stuff, and yeah. So if you see anything going cheap, let me know because I could be interested.
I'll shoot you a message. I actually had so that Star Wars system. So when I was obviously at that time heavily into Xbox 360, I had that Star Wars console. I had the Gears of War 3 and the Halo 4, and they were all unopened. I just brought them to keep them sealed.
Holy
I kept them sealed.
moly.
Yeah, and I did sell them, and I sold them, and now they'd be worth a bit more sealed, but I sold them fairly cheap. Back in 2014, I went through a stage. I've probably gone through twice in my life where I was like, I'm not into video games anymore. I'm not into collecting, and
You'll
sold
be
some
back.
stuff off. Yeah. So
yeah, there's a chick on Instagram called Jack Rabbit Gamer, and I started following her a couple of years ago, and she bought this like heaps of cool stuff anyway, but she bought basically what she claimed was pretty much a complete N64 collection of mostly loose carts, and she paid like $3,000 for it all, like in the US, and it was a garage sale. The woman was like going through a divorce, and she was just tipping the house on the footpath, sort of thing. And like just tables of just bringing stuff out and just trying to move stuff. And I think she did the right thing and kind of I'm not sure, but I think she negotiated like what was a fair price for the lady. And then it was like 6 months later, and her room was empty, and she sold everything. And I was like,
yes.
and I was like, how does one do that? Like, how does one? I understand. I've done a few hobby resets, but how does one just clear out everything? And she had a PC, and I don't know, she's probably playing Apex for 6 months, and now I think just the other day she spent she swapped like a Switch for like a GameCube and an N64 and a couple of Game Boys. I'm like, yeah, you missed that room full of awesome. But I guess it's the hunt, right? As well. It's just unfortunate that it takes about 30 arrows to bring down the beast that used to be a one-shot kind of kill. That's the problem. It's expensive now, really expensive.
It is. I could never imagine. I do think about sometimes to be like, just sell it all.
You slap yourself.
Like now the time is perfect. It's the perfect time. Like if you want to get the most value for it, now is the perfect time. But because I've been doing it for so long, I'm so attached to it. It's been ongoing. I've been, since I was a child. A lot of the stuff that I got I've had since I was a kid.
Yeah, right.
So it makes it, like you think about it, but I'm just so attached to it. I don't think I could.
And going back to that kind of discussion about insurance, like based on what I've kind of got now, somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. If I could walk into a room full of all the cool shit that I love and put it all in a trolley, that'd be fine. But there's no way that you'd get it back. Obviously, I mean, it's a mute conversation, but the concept of like insurance is almost like tempting fate a little bit. If I insure it, does that mean that something might happen? Like, am I having a premonition? Let's just leave it as it is. Everything's fine. Just shut up, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. I keep sort of thinking about like what it's like to be a dad and a gamer, and just seeing you there with you guys, and the little guy like I'm doing it. This is so good. You can totally bring them into it and stuff, and it is fun to have that experience, especially when there's like stories and stuff. I listen to a couple other podcasts, and one guy, his little guy, who's like only about 4 or 5, he's like, they played like one of the Metroids, and then he kind of explained the story. He's like, let's go do the other one. So now he's playing like all Metroid games, which he knows off by heart, and can kind of one shot them in an afternoon or whatever with his little mate. These stories, these tales, like it's not until you get someone else to experience it with you that you realize there's more to gaming than just kind of like getting through everything at expert level. It really does become more of an art and a storytelling and experience. And it's a shame that those that don't feel that or see that don't feel or see that. I guess it's a roundabout way of saying it.
Yeah. So Alex, my eldest, he's got a Switch Lite. And he loves Super Mario 3D World. He's better at that game than me, actually. He loves Daytona. Both my boys love Daytona pretty much as me. They sing the theme song around the house randomly.
Oh my! Your wife must be just pumped with that.
Yeah, she's ecstatic. But
shut up.
we just recently, which was a good experience. Alex and I played through the first Halo on the Master Chief Collection on Xbox. So we did that co-op. a little bit frustrating because he's still pretty young. So
Yeah.
obviously, you know, understanding it all, I'm doing all the heavy lifting. But yeah, that's probably something we're going to continue, you know, play through number 2 and 3 together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to, as he gets older and understands it more, where we can play together, you know, and it's not as frustrating for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is good. I want to pass that on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is realistically the future of, I mean, it always has been, and I kind of sound like an old fart, but like the more that our children become adapted to the world of screens, which they are, there's no way we can't stop that. That horse has bolted, but the more they do, the more like my daughter's way into Roblox, and I guess my wife and I discussed it, and we kind of just watched it and sort of saw it and just observed whether we saw any negative. And apart from that, kind of like Roblox is pretty secure in that there's not a lot that can go down behind the scenes. You know, very difficult to groom. I think that's a dark side of it. But even just generally people being arse bags. Like I've seen some videos of like the voice chat on like an Xbox or a PlayStation network, and some of the words coming out of like 10-year-old kids in these places, like, you're kidding me. So it's not that, and we're fine with that. But still, just to watch her go from, I think her account's a couple of years old now, and she's gone from a couple of ladybugs to, I've got rainbow double sapphire flying uber beast, this and everything, and I traded that, and old matey from school's joining me, and he doesn't have a lot, so I can give him a bunch of stuff. And there really is a lot to be gained from those kinds of experiences. And I think the cinemas aren't there like they used to be for you and I growing up. You know, I saw Mad Max, I saw Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back at the drive-in and things like that. And then there's certainly no like video shops. You know, we had a Blockbuster was gone 4 or 5 years ago. That was the last one. So they don't get those experiences that we got growing up. And so you've got to embrace these experiences they're having via the modern gaming, whether it be Switch or like your guys, you know, their version of Zelda is going to be their version of Zelda. HD remake, irrelevant. This is the Zelda I played when I was 9 on that trip to Coffs Harbour over Christmas, kind of thing, you know. They're so lucky in some ways, but in some ways they miss out on those opportunities we had growing up, time zones and things.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like yeah, going to Blockbuster Video or Video Easy, that was an experience that, you know, they're not going to have that. You know, there's still some arcades around, but, you know, not like sort of when we were growing up.
Or grab a tickety
you know,
pricey things.
Yeah, we got to have that interaction with other people, and you know, go there and see that, you know, now everything's online. And yeah, my son, both of them have their own iPads, and they can use them better than me. I'm actually blown away sometimes when I watch them navigating, you know, and doing things and opening things that I didn't even know existed on there. So that's just, yeah, the way that it is now, I guess.
It is. Geez, you have some stuff. I mean, I'm still flicking through what you got here. You got a Dark Knight 360. Like, it just astounds me the amount of stuff that came out. I've recently noticed for some reason all the different PS3s, like the Spider-Man and the Darth Vader, and like, it's endless, bro. It's endless.
It is endless, and it's for a collector, it's not great. Well,
No,
it is good that there's so many different things, but when you want all of them, yeah,
it's great for the collector that's about to think about selling a bunch of stuff. Hey, like, might take a trip around Europe. I'll just sell a couple of Dreamcasts. It'll be fine. Thing. What's the goal? I mean, I ask this of people. I know it's kind of a dumb question, but do you have any kind of like, are you just enjoying it and just keep collecting stuff, or are you kind of looking to, you know, is there like something you really want to have a complete collection of, or is that like, that's a question no one wants to answer because they know how hard that would be?
No, like I'm happy, I'm content. You know, just trying to collect sustainably, I guess. Not overpay for things. I enjoy the hobby. I only come into Instagram around, I think I started my account in 2020. And that's been an experience. I've met like a lot of cool people from there. So, you know,
Mm.
other collectors, and I love interacting. You know, there's a lot of cool people and, you know, probably lifelong friends I've made off there.
Mm.
There's nothing I don't have any ambitions to have a complete collection of anything. I just buy the stuff that I enjoy. Like, I buy it if I'm going to play it, and I, you know, had it as a kid, or I rented it as a kid, but I never owned it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that game. That's why I buy them. You know, I don't care how many I've got, as long as I've got the ones that I like, or I have an attachment to, or some nostalgia for.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at two of your posts here. I want to ask you two questions, and one of them is, and then I'll ask you this one first. So, how many 360 faceplates do you own? Different faceplates? Because I'm looking at a picture of 6, which I'm sure is like a drop in the ocean compared to. There would have been a whole bunch of companies that pumped out random like knockoffs of stuff, but do you have a whole bunch of different 360 faceplates?
There is a couple more, but the problem is they're in, like, I've got boxes in cupboards. So
but you don't
there's
have
not
like 120 or something.
No. There's
Just
a couple
curious,
of more,
because they'd be the easiest things to collect, and yeah, you probably pick them up randomly here and there too. The other thing I was going to ask you about is this shirt. It's a Sega Saturn shirt, so anybody can go and look at this. So it's sort of like white and red, almost looks like it's from Marlboro. So it's got a big Sega Saturn logo in the middle, and then I'm going to try and make it bigger so I can read everything. There's advertising on the sleeve. It has Yokohama, okay, tires, and then this will be fairly retro for you and I. Ansett Australia, which is a long gone domestic aviation company. Used to be, you know, Qantas and TAA and Ansett Australia, and then it's got some other stuff. And now I read here, signed by Mark Scaife, who is one of the kind of like legendary automotive athletes, sportsmen in this country. 1996, Sega sponsored the Australian Touring Car Championship. Mark Scaife drove a Holden Commodore covered in Sega livery, and you've got his shirt signed by him, or a shirt signed by him. Holy moly, that's some Aussie right there. That's insane.
Yes, and I got that actually pretty cheap. I vaguely remember picking that up because that was actually a very long time ago.
Was it signed when you got it?
It was signed when I got it. Yeah, I didn't get it signed. It was signed, but I actually was obviously drawn to it because of the Sega Saturn.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was signed by Mark Scaife. So
I mean, for anybody in the US, like the Australian Touring Car Championship is effectively, it's not the same track or type of car, but it's effectively like NASCAR level. So if you had someone from 96 in a NASCAR covered in Sega Saturn shit, and you got a shirt and they signed it, that's what's like. Maybe British touring car type stuff as well. Like, that's freaking just, yeah. And again, it shows you where gaming sort of got its hooks in here and there. To have an entire team, like here's Sega. I mean, we used to have that, was it like whatever the Sega place was in Darling Harbour in Sydney?
Sega World Sydney.
Like, it was real. It used to be real, and now it just sort of seems to be in these pockets, or the supernovas, or, you know, the things like that. Man, that's I can't believe that even exists.
Yeah, that's one of the other things. So, like, you know, I won't only collect the games, but you know, if it's a shirt, or if it's a statue, or if it's whatever, you know, if it's video games, I'll just, I love all of that stuff.
Oh, look what you've got here. A big black Power Ranger plushie. Movable karate arms. I've got one of those. It's just not plushie. I'm sure I saw a posable figure. I'm sure I saw powerful karate arms on this somewhere too. No, but you can get a red one. Isn't that funny? It's funny. Did you kind of grow up with Power Rangers, or do you have a thing, or is this because it's a vintage one you picked up?
Yeah, that was a vintage one. Yeah, definitely. Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z after that.
Yeah.
Those were the main.
What was your Pokemon era? Where did you come in?
Oh, right from the start.
Wow.
Yeah. red and blue on Game Boy, and
Yeah.
cheese TV every morning before school.
That's funny.
Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about Turtles? Were you there from the start? I see you got a bunch in blisters. Are they OG or the repros? Because they've got the repros all up on the wall here.
Yeah, they're the repros. So I got them in a big box set. They had them at we got a store down in Melbourne, or in Geelong, should I say, called Pop Culture.
Right.
So they just sell all those,
you know,
pops and figurines.
Splinter and the Shredder as well. I need to try and track them. Are they from the same series, or are they something a bit different? And the box looks the same. But I mean, they do stuff every year or two. They just keep redoing everything. I watch a lot of toy collectors on YouTube, and they're kind of like, look, if you like the stuff, but you don't want to muck around, maybe just get the repros, because the original ones are like, you know, old toys are starting to feel sticky because they're like slowly dissolving and all that sort of stuff. So they're like, just get the old one, just get the new one. You'll feel the same. Look at them on my wall there. I look at them and I'm like, I don't know the difference.
That's right. Yeah. And that's why I got them. I had all those toys as a kid. But obviously, you know, I don't have them now. But you know, I just thought, you know, they're nice and clean in the packaging, and you know, trying to hunt down the OG stuff. It's going to be a couple $100 each if you want them, you know, in the packaging.
I think I paid 15 each for mine or something. Same as like I've been tempted recently to pick up a couple of the like repro He-Man, you know, maybe just get a He-Man and a Skeletor, because that's kind of like all that really mattered. Everything else was, people were probably like, no, that's not true. But, you know, if you had those two, you're fine, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, it looks like your life's been very Sega heavy. There's no doubt about that. There's sort of every fourth post is almost something about Sonic.
So my first console was home console was the Master System 2 with Alex Kidd.
Right.
So I guess that's where my Sega love began.
Yeah.
And then from there, it sort of moved to PS1. So I went basically straight from a Master System and a Game Boy to PS1. So you can imagine it was quite a leap there. But from there on, I was hooked. Once I had the PS1, that's just hooked me, and I've been addicted pretty much to collecting and playing games since then.
So total tangent. So what's your feeling about the new Halo based series that's about to come out, as in like TV, or is it already out? I might have missed it. I don't know.
No, it's coming out on this Thursday, the 24th.
Are you pumped?
March. Yep. Yeah, I'm pumped for it. It looks good. I know some people have got a couple of gripes with it, but I think overall
they live in their mum's. They live in their mum's basement. That's fine.
They're like Star Wars fans. You just can't please them.
Yeah. So as a non-Halo fan, but sees Master Chief and identifies him and says, that two looks pretty badass. I wish I had a little bit more understanding. And you being the exact opposite to that, how do you think the series is going to land? Like, as a do I need to do some research? Should I go and play the first game a bit? Or I think I watched, like, is it Reach or something? It was like at an academy. And I was like, oh, that seems cool. I don't see any Master Chief dude. I'm confused now.
So I think with this series, from what I've read and understand, it's basically they want to bring new people into the series. So you actually don't need to have any knowledge of Master Chief or Halo. This is going to be its own storyline.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have to mention like Cortana, the AI is like in it somewhere or something. So there's still links in the universe, but it's not so it's not Master Chief. Is that what you're saying? It's something
No, it is Master Chief,
right?
But it's just a whole different storyline. So it's not the storyline based on the games.
Oh, so they're going to try to retcon the entire story.
And the Cortana, that's so people were complaining because she doesn't have that blue glow like she does, transparency in the games. But the actor, the Cortana actor, it's actually the lady who voices Cortana in the games. So it's actually, it's legit. It's it looks good. It looks good. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I can't imagine I have quite the punch. Do you remember when the first kind of images of Sonic came out for the movie? and he was like all like roided up and just like bumpy in the wrong places. And the world's like, no, just don't. Just and like that was interesting. I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe everyone has a right to opinion, but I don't like it. But I was like, I'm on board with this one. Where do I sign? Because that was weird.
Yep, that was shocking. I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with that design, but I'm glad that they suffered the backlash that they did. They fixed up the design.
Yeah.
And the movie was actually really good. I watched
enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
My son loves it.
Yeah, I'm not a fanboy. My daughter and I really enjoyed it. We're looking forward to the second one. I've grown up as a Jim Carrey fan, so I hope he never dies. And it's kind of right up his alley, that weird character. He kind of like pet detective, mask, cable guy type of stuff. Like he can be an odd cat, and he deserves those roles. And that was an odd cat role.
Yep, and he fitted it, and he pulled it off. And
yeah,
I think he really worked in that role.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, well, I will give it more attention then. It's one of those things I've tried not to pay too much attention to because, I don't want to get that kind of negative vibe going, oh, this will be terrible, probably. And if it's a one episode in and I feel like it's probably the people in their mum's basements were probably right, then unfortunately I might not give it a fair chance. So what do you think, as a person that's about to get an OG Xbox, and I'm about to get a 360? What do you think I should get into first? Because everything I get for it, hopefully, it's going to be kind of free. Because I'm going to the OG, I'm going to Rocky 5 it as soon as I get it. I've got all the bits.
Do you like RPGs?
No, I'm probably more of a sort of brawler shooter. I'll give Drivers a go, but no, not really RPGs. I mean, I've tried a few little things. I'm probably like the fussiest gamer. Like the older sort of retro stuff is what I like. But I mean, PS3, what did I enjoy? I mean, I've got the Ghostbusters video game, which I started playing on PS2, and I was like, no, I want this better. So I got that on PS3, and I could work through that. And I think as soon as I saw the Xbox, I'm like, I'm going to have to play this Halo game. I'm not very good at twin stick first person shooters, but if there's a story and it's enjoyable, I'll give it some time,
Yep. So Halo's a given. The reason why I asked if you like RPGs is I'm not into RPGs. I actually don't enjoy them, but Fable on OG Xbox and Xbox 360 is an awesome series. I could highly recommend that. If you're into brawlers, Dead or Alive 3 is awesome. And
I think I'm more into go right and fight as opposed to two-person fighters.
So my next suggestion, it's not a very common title, but there's a OG Xbox, there's a Sega game. It was an arcade game. It's called Spike Out.
Yeah, right.
But basically you pick a character and you go around and, bash people up effectively.
Yes.
Definitely would check that out. Xbox 360. I actually really enjoyed playing. There's a series called Condemned. I only really enjoyed the first one. It's sort of like a walkthrough, investigation, fighting horror game.
Right.
Really enjoyed the first one. The second one, the story just got way too weird and sort of got really, really funky. But the first one was really good, so I'd recommend checking that out.
Well, it looks like I was just looking through some of the photos that my mother-in-law sent me. So the 360, it's got Fable 2 with it. I tried to play, I think, like the first Assassin's Creed, and I was like, I don't need a walk simulator. I've got too much to do in my day, and it just kind of bored me, unfortunately.
I feel you. I'm not into. I played the first one, and then after that, I was just like, nah.
I just found I was riding this horse for like 20 minutes. And I was like, I get it. This is cool. And I will do that with a lot of games. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts, and like the other day, someone was talking about, what's it called? I can't remember. Truxton on the Mega Drive. And I was like, oh, it sounds rad. And I'm like, well, I've got Neverdrive. So I came home and I bombed it up and I was like, awesome. And I gave it 45 minutes of my life. And I'm like, I may not do it again, but I've had a go and I've experienced it and I understand what they were saying about the soundtrack. And I find even with the modern consoles, like I tried to when I got the PS3, I tried to play Red Dead 1, Redemption or whatever it's called, the cowboy game. And I was like, man, this is just, I feel like I've actually got a life. I can't do this. I was riding along a road and I hear this voice and some dude's getting strung up by some bandits. I'm like, my little moral switch went off and I had to go over and rescue him. And he's like, oh, my wife lives so far away, but I need to collect all these daisies to give to her. And next thing I'm picking flowers. And it's like, I'm supposed to be back at this town with this farmer's wife. And it's 3 hours. So I can't do that, man. I can't do that. I just need a platformer with a level. I'm bad at it. Okay, I get it. Thanks for making Mickey Mouse fun again, kind of thing, you know. So I'm fearful of these modern consoles. Yeah. So, all right. I look forward to a bit of Halo then. I do. Well, look, I think I've probably taken up a bunch of your time. I could probably just sit here and this would be so boring for everybody else and maybe even boring for you. And you might go, I forgot I had that. But like anybody can just flick through your Instagram and just get like a rainbow of like everything. Like we've discussed everything, right? 360. We haven't even really talked about GameCube. You got a lot of GameCube. You know, do you want to talk about a bit of GameCube before we kind of wrap this up? Because you do seem to have a bunch of GameCube.
Yeah, GameCube. I do enjoy GameCube. Another Nintendo console that's getting pretty pricey to collect for.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that I've got for GameCube, I've had since I've purchased the console. But yeah, a lot of good games. Definitely one of my favorites, Luigi's Mansion. I love that series.
I have experienced that. I love it. I picked up a couple of like Wavebird knockoffs of Facebook Marketplace for like $30. They were the left like shoulder button was like it would always be on. And when I opened it up, you could see some of the plastic slag was still there. And I fixed that. They were an awful orange all over. So I just pulled them apart and a bit of matte black and a bit of matte purple. And they're really cool. The difference between these and an actual Wavebird is an actual Wavebird has like you can select your frequency, whereas these are like they're matched. So if I lose this, I might as well throw this in the bin. But Luigi's Mansion is so cool. Hey, it's just kooky and it's got a few little jump frights here and there, and it's just beautiful.
Good storytelling.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else GameCube have you sort of got that you're fond of and probably never get rid of?
Definitely Resident Evil 4. I've actually I've got the chainsaw. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got the chainsaw controller and this limited edition, which was a GameStop in the US.
Right.
The tin casing.
That's pretty rad.
So yeah, they're pretty awesome. So that's that's just another system, both the GameCube and 64, they're just getting so pricey.
Yeah.
I know everything is, but
yeah,
Nintendo, we all know Nintendo stuff is is where the money's at.
And it's the burden or the curse of a console that didn't do that well. That now people want it back in their life, and it's not like games didn't sell 1 million of everything, and a lot of stuff probably got put in a hole in the ground with Atari's ET, and just they didn't put out as much. So now it's just so hard to get hold of, it's ironic that what no one wanted now is worth so much more. And those GameCube people are like, haha, I told you. Yeah. We're going to kind of wrap it up, but I do want to finish on this one because I guess we talked about dads and stuff. One of your posts here, and it's you and your dad on your birthday in 94 and your first Game Boy, and he's playing it like a boss. You know, he's sitting there. He looks like you're at a Pizza Hut or something. I'm not sure.
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Wow, look at you can barely tell what it is. It's everything in the 90s. It's just so rad. And he's like a boss. And so what is that, like a clear DMG or a clear color?
Clear DMG. Yeah. So
It's
I got that for my
crystal there.
birthday. Yeah, got it for my birthday. Got the Tetris, obviously.
Yeah.
And I can't quite remember if it was I got the Game Boy first or the Master System.
Yeah.
It was one of those two, but that was the very beginning of this gaming
His
journey.
fault.
No, he didn't get it for me.
Oh.
It was my grandma who got it for me.
Oh.
He must have been showing me or helping me play or something like that. But
he looks like he's having a good go at it. And you're sitting there in your like a black Orlando Magic hoodie type thing. So just good. Look at him in the flannel shirt and the flannel jacket at an old
fashion back then.
At an old Macca's. So good. Yeah, man. So and now it's your turn to except it's not their grandma, it's you going.
It's me, yeah.
Get some of this in you, mate.
Exactly. I'm passing it on.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, look, we will sort of work into sort of wrapping this up, I guess. I'm sadly Arvo, and we've both got sort of families to get back to, but I do appreciate your time. Excuse me. And so normally at the end, I sort of give you the opportunity to kind of plug a few people or yourself or other things that you're supportive of and things like that. And it doesn't always have to be gaming related, you know, maybe some suppliers that have helped you. You mentioned that Two Happy Gamers and stuff, and I'll get some information. I can put all this in the show notes later. And I always kind of kick the can for someone. And for this episode, it's Andy, which is actually Tendo209 on Instagram, TENDO 209. Andy's just got one of those accounts that I just love to see. I mean, he's in Toronto. I've chatted with him a bit. It's not things aren't amazing, but things aren't like just average. He puts the effort in, and he just comes up with some really nice, predominantly Game Boys, you know. But I mean, he's got a picture here. It's just a nice a NES Tetris cart next to a box. I'm like, I just like to see that stuff is out in the world, you know. And yeah, if you like just having things in your feed that make you feel good about justify your own addiction and look great, Tendo 209, and you'll feel good about yourself, and you'll enjoy his content because it's so much pretty cool. A lot of doing his own builds. He's got this a pocket which is predominantly green, but in the middle is Homer slowly fading back into the hedge. So you can just see his face, his shirt, and it's like there's a percent of certain people in the world that are going to look at that and go, I love Game Boys. The Pocket's my favorite. I grew up on Simpsons, and that is one of the best moments of Simpsons ever. So if I wasn't following him already, I would definitely be following him now. That's amazing. So that's me. So I'm going to hand it over to you and let you kind of like wave the flag for yourself or whoever. And yeah, the conch is yours.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, I'll just give a shout out to a couple of people because there's so many people I've met off the Instagram community,
and I appreciate that. You can't remember everybody, you know. It's
exactly
it's a bit of an ambush, but you can pick a few. Yeah,
we've been doing sort of some meetups in Melbourne, and
cool.
I've met so many people. It's actually. And everyone's been friendly and you know, really nice. So
just gagging for human contact.
Exactly. Yeah, we've all been locked up. So I'll definitely will give a shout out to my my gaming partners, who all of these people have sort of supported me when I sort of started in. So Leo 10J, he's a guy up in WA, and he does some great photos. Vintage Player One, he's in Melbourne, and we've met up a few times. He's a great guy. His name's also Johnny. And Chin Pokemon Master. So those guys, they all do great sort of photography and, you know, a mix of everything. So if you if you're looking for someone new to follow, definitely give those guys a follow. And finally, not video game related, but my wife is actually a virtual assistant. So she works from home, but she can build websites and you know, do a bit of accounting. And Social media. So if anyone is actually looking for a virtual assistant, my wife's business is Streamline Virtual, and I can send her Instagram page. So if anyone needs a virtual assistant, definitely hit her up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing, you know. So you can't just turn up at a local market and just sort of put your tent up and sell your wares, and it sort of opens up all these opportunities where, I would like to have a shop at a local Chermside, but I could never afford the rent. But all of a sudden, with these things like Etsy and even eBay and things like, well, what should I do? Which way should I go? What works best for most people that are trying to achieve what I'm trying to achieve? So I think in our kind of hobby, if you're someone that's buying and selling games and trying to build a bit of a business out of it, you might be able to do with someone like that who's seen it all before.
Exactly. Yep. This is all started from lockdown and COVID.
Yep.
So it's good opportunity.
And she's making a business of it, like doing.
Yeah, so it's her own business. She's been doing it for almost 2 years now. And she's got a fair few clients, and
Awesome.
Been building websites, and she's doing well.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. No worries. And then when you go to sell a bunch of stuff off, she can help you set up a website. And
it might be the next thing when I need to sell some stuff. I might need a website to sell it all, and I'm sure she'll help me.
You'll put the website up, and then middle of the night, you'll be like, get it down. It can't be done. I can't do that. I can't do that. I dread the feeling of, having to do that. I'm a very sentimental type person, and most of what I have in this room is, some of it's through circumstance, but most of it's like, I like that. That reminds me of, I don't know what, but it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. And to let it go would be a odd experience. I envy those that can just buy things and then go, don't need it now, I'm selling it. Good on them. Thank you for selling me the stuff you don't need. And I don't either, but can afford today. That's great. All right, bud. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your collection. This country's starting to open up. I would love to come down and I can have a catch up with you, Bartronica, and just say good day. And we've had a few little meets here. So all the best wishes to your wife and your boys. Your boys are in good hands. There's no doubt about that. Super jealous. I wish I grew up with a dad surrounded with $10,000 Dreamcast and stuff. Amazing. And keep collecting. And I personally, certainly, I think a bunch of people that are listening will be following along and trying to work out what you're up to now and what you're collecting next. And just thinking, better him than me. That's all I'll say.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I always love to talk video games, and it's been great.
Always welcome. Fun. Always welcome. You're in my time zone. You're always welcome. All right, mate. Well, no worries. You have a great rest of your weekend, and you and I'll definitely be in touch, because you got to find me a cheap Dreamcast.
Too easy. No worries.
Good luck, mate. Sort of thing. All right, bud. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, mate.